Good morning, everybody. Hi, welcome to Reads with Lauren. My name is Lauren. Thank you for spending your time with me today. You'll notice that there is a bit of a change in background. I ended up having to pack my bookcase because I am in the process of moving, but I didn't want to not record these videos since, it's coming to the end of the month and I wanted to do a bit of a wrap up of the month. I haven't quite read as many books as I did the previous month. Obviously, with this move, everything's a little bit all over the place. I'm hoping that I'll get at least one of those finished within the next couple of days, but we'll see. So let's just do a quick run through of what I have read this month, and then I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys have read in the month of February, what your favorite books were. If there was any new authors that you've discovered, let me know. I always love hearing about that. But I'll start with just the books that I am currently working my way through. On audio, I am listening to Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I read 11/22/63 last year and absolutely devoured it. I loved it. It was one of my favorite books of 2023. So I decided to give Fairy Tale a go because it kind of has a similar sort of vibe. It's not really his horror stuff. It's more so, the time travel aspect or the portal aspect. And, I'm a fiend for that. If that's going to be in a book, I'm going to read it and I'm probably going to love it. So working my way through that. I'm only about 20% through. I don't think I'll finish it by the end of the month, but I'm really, really loving it so far. If you don't know what it's about, it is about a young man who makes the decision to help this older neighbor in his final days, which is where I'm up to. The synopsis says that when this neighbor passes away, he ends up leaving his home and his dog to this said protagonist. And it ends up being like, in his home, he's got this portal to this different world. So I'm so freaking pumped to get into it. He's, currently just taking care of this elderly neighbor. So I'm so pumped to keep going with it and I can't wait to read the rest. In regards to Kindle ebooks, I am currently reading Another Time, Another Place, which is book 12 of the St. Mary's Chronicles. If you're new here, I am a fiend for these books. I absolutely love Jodie Taylor's writing style. I love the themes that she explores. It is British, funny, kind of Terry Pratchett vibes. It is about like a government organization, or kind of like they're funded by the government, but they kind of run their own ship as much as they can, and they don't time travel, they explore and record events in contemporary time. Really loving those. So I'm on book 12. I am about 20% through as well with that one. And, they're so fast paced. There's always so much going on in each book. So I can't even give you sort of a breakdown of what has happened because so much happens. And, I'll go into the other books that I've read this month of this series, but I can't tell you sort of what happens in the books because it's almost like two different books put together. It's so fast paced, something major happens and then that's over and then it moves on to another thing. So I'm really loving book 12. I'm almost through the series and then I will be moving on to the Time Police series, which is a sort of companion series in the same world, interlacing characters. And I started with that one initially and really loved it, but saw that I was missing a lot of substance and a lot of background. So moved back to St. Mary's and I'm so glad I have. It's been absolutely great. So yes, about 20% through that, absolutely loving it. And there are a few that I have read this month. I'll get onto those very soon. But I am also working my way through. If you are a returning YouTube subscriber or viewer, then you will have seen this book before, but I am working my way through time travel short stories. I am getting there. I'm past halfway now. There are a whole heap of short stories. So there's some classics with the time travel theme. It's got like a few chapters of some of the really good classic novels, which I thought would be a great way to delve into seeing if they were books that I wanted to pick up. I'm 246 pages into this book and it is just under 500 pages. It's also got some new releases, short stories that haven't been published before, as well as short stories that have been published in like newspapers or magazine articles. There's been some great ones, there's been some not so great, it's been a bit hit and miss, but overall I am enjoying it and want to continue reading them. So that will be something I will continue next month, and hopefully I won't be reporting in my March wrap up that I'm still reading it. I'm hoping that I will get onto it and get it finished. But so they're the ones that I am currently reading. But let's go through the books that I finished this month. So at the start of the month, I was partway through the Into Shadow series, which is Amazon original. And they are just, I think, 7 or 8 short stories that are written by contemporary authors. They're quite varied in themes, and they're around 30 to 50 pages long. I had read the first 3, I think, last month. And so this month I finished with What the Dead Know by Nhi Vo, Undercover by Tamsin Muir, Out of the Mirror Darkness by Garth Nix, and The Candles Are Burning by Veronica G. Henry. These were all pretty good. I think that my favorite probably was the last one I finished last month, which was The Sixth Death of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. However, they all were relatively good. I think I rated 1 or 2 of them 2 stars, but majority of them 3 or 4 stars. And yeah, it was great to finish the series. Well worth a read if you enjoy short stories. Moving to the St. Mary's Chronicles, let's get them out of the way. In February, I read When Did You Last See Your Father?, which was book 10.5. Why Is Nothing Ever Simple? Book 10.6. So these are short story collections. I am missing a couple of short stories, so I haven't read all of them, but I am working my way through most of them. I think I've only missed 3 or 4. And then I read Plan for the Worst, which is book 11, before reading The Muse of History, which was just sort of a short blog post, like 2 or 3 pages long. So that's officially 11.3. And The Ordeal of the Haunted Room, book 11.5. These were all great. I love Jodie. I could go on for hours about it, but I feel like I talk about her in every single video. So really good book series. If you haven't picked it up, I highly recommend, especially if you love a bit of humor and a bit of time travel and a sci-fi component. It's just the best. Moving on to the audiobooks. And I started the month reading Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. This was really cute. It was book number 2 after Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I picked up and adored. I loved the bisexual representation, and the main protagonist in this one is bisexual and kind of discovers this within this book. It was super sweet, cute banter, obviously enemies to lovers sort of trope. I'm not a huge fan of romance tropes, but when it comes to queer romance, it's like, just give me everything. I don't care what trope it is. Just give me banter, give me some nice spice, and I'll be happy with it. So it was a great audio to read while I was packing, and I would give it probably a 4 stars. I think it was really fun, really sweet. After that, I read The Book You Want Everyone You Love to Read by Philippa Perry. This was on my TBR, and I'm glad that I read it. I sort of ran through this in a previous video, but it's a bit of a self-help book. Psychotherapist has compiled. She had a lot of people email in asking questions and sort of broke down these questions in the book. It was really informative, quite clever. I enjoyed it. I love to do a little bit of self-help every sort of month. Professional or personal development is my jam. So I like reading 1 or 2 of these books each month, and this one was really good. I do recommend it. I think that it was great listening to it in audio because it gave it a bit more feeling, and yeah, highly recommend if you're into that sort of book. Then there was a couple of Doctor Who books, so I only read 2 this month. I normally, read a fair bit more than that, but I have kind of moved away from it this month. I wasn't really feeling it, but I read The Crueltane Storm, which is written by Christopher Cooper. And I read Autonomy, which was written by Daniel Blythe. These were both relatively good. It's the 10th Doctor. It has his vibe. He's a great doctor. I loved him. So I did enjoy them. They probably weren't my favourite audiobooks that I've listened to so far, but they were pretty good. And the last audiobook that I finished was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This one was highly recommended on YouTube. It kind of has this sci-fi Hunger Games element to it. Look, I enjoyed it. It was fine. I don't know if I'll continue the series. I don't know if it was because I was listening an audiobook, but I did lose track a couple of times. I mean, it was okay. It's definitely not a 5-star read for me, but I would recommend it if you are sort of into that vibe and you know, yeah, enjoy that. Moving on to the hard copy books that I've read, I have posted a couple of videos this month which have really broken down my experience reading these, so I won't go into too much detail. I did a reader on haul challenge and I did a 24-hour readathon, which I believe is where I started Dracula. Like I said in the 24-hour readathon, I'm pretty sure that this was when I started this one. I thought I had read this before. I had only read the start. It was decent. I listened to it audio and also read, so it was good. I was able to kind of switch depending on what I needed at the time. It was good. It was great. It's a classic. I highly recommend, you know, if you haven't read it, give it a go. It's very good. Dracula, you know, Van Helsing, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a classic. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, right? After that, I read Binge by Tyler Oakley. Now, I don't know if you've seen the video, you'll see that I managed to remove the cover. This was one that I picked up at a book sale at the library. Even though the cover was cool, it had library stickers all over it. And this is a cute cover. It's a cute hard copy. So I'm really looking forward to having this in my bookshelf in my new house. I did break this one down a little bit in the Reader on Haul challenge. If you don't know who Tyler Oakley is, he was one of the first popular YouTubers. This was written in 2015, I think, so he was only 26 years old. So I don't know if you can really class that as a memoir when you've only lived 26 years, but it kind of goes into some really funny topics. It talks about his experiences on YouTube. Talks about, you know, his celebrity status, his interactions with One Direction, which was really interesting. But it also goes into really strange stuff like birthday parties, Grindr, bodily fluids. But I mean, if you like Tyler Oakley, or if you know of Tyler Oakley and you're intrigued to learn a little bit more, it's a fun read and I did enjoy it. I won't give it a star rating as, you know, it's a memoir, but I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. I don't know if I'll read it again, but it's going to look really great on my bookshelf. So, and I'm glad that I read it. In that same video, I Heard That Song Before by Mary Higgins Clark. This one, I've never read Mary before, but I picked up a whole heap of her books at the markets and, you know, in cheap book sales on Facebook Marketplace and stuff. So I was intrigued to see if I enjoyed her writing style, and I did. It was really good. There is a reason that she was a popular author. I went into this one a lot in the video in the Read It or Unhaul challenge video, so check that one out if you want to learn a little bit more. But it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I'll be keeping it on my bookshelf and reading the rest of her work. So yeah, that's a positive, right? Then I read The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Now, I need to stop doing this. I need to stop picking up books and not knowing what they're about, because every single book I've picked up lately has had the same recurring theme throughout, and it's one that's quite triggering for me. So definitely, if you haven't read this, check out the trigger warnings. It was really good though. I'm so glad that I did read it. I won't read it again, purely because of the triggers, but I enjoyed it. It was a great insight on 1970s Afghanistan. There is a reason that it is so well loved, and yeah, just read the trigger warnings beforehand. But I'm glad that I read it. I think I gave it 4 stars. The writing style is great. I haven't read a lot in this same genre, so, you know, reading some reviews afterwards, there are some things that I can understand people being frustrated with, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Last but not least, I just finished True Evil by Greg Iles. This was one that I picked up from one of my free local libraries. It's a thriller. It is about, you know, this FBI agent whose sister has passed away, but prior to her death, she tells Alex that she believes that her husband has been the cause of her death. So she had a stroke, but there is this idea that, yes, he has decided to make this occur instead of going through a divorce. So it becomes sort of a personal thing for Alex. She ends up investigating this case, discovering that there is a divorce lawyer who is providing people with this option to make the divorce process a lot easier. So this agent Alex ends up meeting up with this Dr. Chris, who she believes is the next victim or the next target. And yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a standard mystery thriller. I mean, it's quite chunky. It took me a little while to get through, and after reading the reviews, a lot of people have said, you know, it was quite cliche. I get that, but I hadn't read this sort of thriller before with this sort of storyline, this plot, so I didn't mind it. I think that I would give it 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It did take a while to get through, but I'm glad that I finished it. Will I read it again? Probably not. Will I keep it? Maybe just for the aesthetic on the bookshelf. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's one that I would recommend to everybody unless you're really into this sort of vibe. That's all of the books I've read this month. That wasn't as many as the previous month, but you know, considering I'm moving house, I think that was a pretty good effort. That's it from me. Let me know in the comment section, like I said earlier, if you read any books that you really loved this month. I'd love to have a chat with you about it in the comments section. So yeah, let's chat. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you in a new video very, very soon. Goodbye, my darlings.